What's going on, guys? Nick Wood here, the king of digital real estate. And today I want to talk about, should I stick with rank and rent in my home country, or should I go outside to another country? So maybe you are in Australia and you're wondering, should I stick in Australia? Should I build lead generation sites here in Australia? Or should I target the US? Should I target Europe? Should I target Canada? Maybe you're in Canada and you're wondering, should you target Canada? Should you target the US? Or maybe you're in the US and you're like, man, maybe I should target West Africa, some country in West Africa, Sierra Leone, Ghana, whatever, Nigeria. That is the question. And it is a very good question. I get this question often, especially from people in countries that speak English, because they're wondering, really, it comes down to, is it my country or is it the US? Because a lot of what we talk about on this channel is the US, because that's where I'm at, or that's where I was. And it's where I've done all of my projects, honestly, up until now. So I just want to go over a couple of things and really tell you that it honestly depends. Okay, it depends on what you want. It depends on your comfort level. It depends on, the country that you're in. And it depends on just a number of different factors. So there's not a one size fits all, but what I want to tell you is this. You can make money in any country, period, end of story. I could make money on doing rank and rent lead generation in this country right here, in Sierra Leone, West Africa. How much money I can make, how easy that's gonna be, how much I can charge, how scalable it is, those are all things that depend, right? And so, for example, one of the things that I've heard from people that are in Australia, some of our students that are in Australia, is they're wondering, how big of a market is there? How there's my specific country, there's these big towns, or these big cities, and then after the big cities, there's not a whole bunch to go after. So how big is the actual market? And so again, it comes down to like, well, are we talking about just a specific set of services? Are we talking about tree service, tree lopping, concrete, or are we talking about all of the services? Because here's what's interesting is, in Australia, you are gonna have services that we do not have in the US, or that I do not have here in West Africa, okay? So really what it comes down to, guys, and this is kind of the advice that I give everybody, is the US is tried and true. We know what to expect. We know that people are willing to pay for advertising. We know this, that, and the rest. However, we also know it's competitive. We also know there's how many people every day coming into this space, coming online and deciding this is where they're going to build their fortune, doing this, and that are now our competitors. So we have to keep that in mind. We have to realize, do we want to go after competitive countries that are tried and true, or do we go and start looking for specific countries that have never been touched, knowing that there's going to be some learning, knowing that there's going to be some trial and error? But if we find those countries that work, those countries that just hit, we are going to be able to completely run the table, okay? And so as I look at it like this, right? I'm somebody that's frequently been known to talk about, finding these dumb, boring niches like concrete, like tree service, etc., and being very specific and very thoughtful and very tactful in the cities that I go after. I believe that there's riches in the niches, but I also believe there's riches in the cities, right? Focusing on the city and not worrying so much about the niche, because the niche is tried and true. So I'm looking at this and I'm kind of comparing this the same way with countries, right? Finding a new country might be very similar to spending the time and the resources and the research and the effort as it would be to finding a new niche. And there is a lot to it, man. You might have to go through 2, 3, 4 countries if you're somebody that's looking for that new frontier. You're the Columbus that's looking for that new frontier, that untapped market. You may have to go through multiple countries and lose some money, but when you find it, it is going to be your little secret. It is going to be your little honeypot. It is going to be something that you completely you completely demolish that city, and you run it A to Z with every niche, and you have completely cornered the market. So what it comes down to, guys, is this. Are you somebody that is looking to reinvent the wheel and looking to find that little hidden gem and looking to, am I going to find that that cool little niche that nobody's ever thought of? And yes, I might have to go through 5, 6, 7 niches and I'm whatever, but I'm willing to spend the money on ads. I'm willing to spend the money on it not working because I know the upside. And so what this comes down to, if you're somebody that needs to make money today, I may advise you that you go to a market that is tried and true. You go to a market that you know can produce. Now, somebody that's in Australia, that market is tried and true. It is no longer a question. That market is tried and true. If you're in Canada, that market is tried and true. For those of you in Australia wondering if you should come to the US, that really just comes down to you in your head probably think that there's more money in the US than there is in Australia, when you could be right in your own country making crazy money. Because coming to the US or going to the US, because I'm no longer there, yes, there's a lot of people. Yes, there's people that are willing to spend money on advertising. Yes, the US technically could be more sold on spending money on ads. However, you're dealing with much, much higher competition in the form of lead generators like me and you and everybody else. So if you're somebody that is in Canada, you're somebody that's in Australia, if it were me, I'm sticking to my home country. I know the nuances. I know the cities. I know the little quirks, and I know the different things, and people know that I am local. If it's me, I'm sticking in Canada. I'm sticking in Australia, okay? Or Europe. If I'm in a country that this has not been, necessarily proven, if I live in West Africa, if I live in Nigeria or Sierra Leone or Ghana, or I live in India, and I'm trying and I'm thinking, should I sell to local business owners where I'm at? That is going to come down to your situation. Do you have the money? Do you have the capital? Do you have the resources to test out your city and your country and other cities in your country and other neighboring countries? Or are you in a position where you need to make money today? Because if you need to make money today, what you need to do is you need to go into a city, you need to go into a country that is tried and true, and you need to spend your time and do your homework and do your due diligence and make sure that the city that you choose hits, but already knowing that the country that you're going into works, in a niche that works. You want to go with the lowest risk possible, but also keep in mind that's going to have the lowest reward. Low risk, low reward. If you're on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have the money to spend, you have the time, you already have the bills paid, and you're like, hey, I want to make sure that when I do this, I do it right and I do it big, and I want to find that country or that niche, then go spend the time, go start testing, go start asking questions, go start putting up ads, go start figuring it out, and go find that country that's not been touched, that is ready, that as people are searching on the internet, just like they're searching in the US, and go and run it A to Z and monopolize that specific country. So for me, when I built my company, 2020, when I scaled up to 7 figures, I was where I was at, US. I was not only where I was at, but I was in my own backyard. I was building projects in my own home city. I was trying to monopolize around where I was at. As I grew, I expanded. I stayed in the US, I stayed in the US, stayed in the US. Now I'm in a position where, hey, I don't need necessarily, yes, I want, but I don't need another deal. I don't need it. What I'd rather have is a country. What I'd rather have is a niche, something that's never been touched, something that no one's ever tried. And I'm willing to spend the money, and I have the money that I can spend to find those things out and then bring them to you guys. So I'm in a position where I'm way more interested in finding a new country, finding some new niches that no one's ever thought about, no one's ever talked about, because I still know I have this arm, this channel of, hey, put up a concrete website, put up a tree service website, put up an artificial grass website today, run some ads, boom, 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 boom. Yes, I'm gonna get deals. They may not be, 90% profit margins ranking overnight with 0 CPC or $1 CPC. However, they're tried and true, and I have that coming in. I've got a flow coming in, I've got a sales team coming in, and now I'm going to go and do that. So it just depends, guys. I know that's kind of an answer you don't want to hear. What's your situation like? What kind of resource do you have? What kind of time do you have? And depending on that, that's the direction you should go. But for those of you in Australia, for those of you in Canada, Europe, that it's been proven that we know it works, stick in your country, man. Why, or lady, why not? You're right there. You're already in that city. You can meet people for coffee. You can do whatever, and you know the nuances of that city. You know that people may not call it tree service. They might call it tree lopping, right? That's my advice coming from somebody who's about to test out all of West Africa. Can't wait to see what we come up with, guys. I'm out.